Hello, St. John's families. This is your chaplain, Father James Reho, coming to you from my virtual forest and presenting a short video for parents on how to continue with conversations with our children on COVID-19 and social distancing. Some of this will be geared toward parents of younger children. Some will be geared toward parents of tweens or older children. So I ask you just to use your own sense of what may serve you and take what is useful and leave the rest. From reading a number of experts, the first thing that stands out in talking with children about something like COVID-19 is really coming to understand and manage our own anxiety. Our children pick up from us not only the content of what we're saying, but our emotional disposition and our feelings around what we say. And so when we speak with our children about COVID-19, we'll want to make sure that we are in a place of calm and receptivity and centeredness. If we are agitated, if we are afraid, if we are anxious, all of which are very reasonable things to feel these days, we want to deal with those feelings or wait until they pass before we speak with our children. They react not only to what we say, but to how we say it. So if we notice that we're anxious, we can take a few breaths before having a conversation. We can schedule with our child a later time to have that conversation, or simply be honest and say, I'm not in the best place to talk about this right now, and we will talk about this very, very soon. If we do have our anxiety under control and we're ready to have that conversation, one of the first things that's recommended is to assess what and how much our child or children know about COVID-19. They may have heard many, many things and probably continue to hear many, many things. Some of those things may be truthful. Some of those things may not be. Some of those things may be reassuring. Some of those things may be very alarming. And so, like any good conversation, we want to begin with where our listening partner is. So to assess what our children are thinking about the virus and what they know about it at any given time, because that can really change from day to day, is an important starting place. In having some hand in what our children see and are exposed to around COVID-19, it's important for us to think about and perhaps to monitor what our children are seeing or hearing on TV or on radio or on the internet or whatever media they have access to, so that we can see first how much they're seeing about this, right? For adults or children, seeing too much media can generate anxiety. And also the quality of the media that they're seeing. Is it truthful? Is it not? Is it hard to tell? So in terms of what our children have heard, some experts recommend that if a child is 6 or under and they've yet to really know about the virus or know much about it, it may not be best to bring it up to them and simply to let them be and take care of them, make sure they stay safe and they stay washed and as healthy as possible, but to not initiate a conversation around the virus with someone of that age. For someone older than that, we will want to definitely have those conversations. Another point experts make is that we should not dismiss our children's fears about the virus. And some of these fears may seem a little misplaced from an adult perspective. Someone who might say, oh, when we were in the grocery store, somebody coughed at the end of the aisle and I'm afraid that I might have COVID-19. Rather than saying something like, oh, don't worry about it, that's not going to happen, they were wearing a mask or something like that. What we want to say is, wow, that sounds like you're pretty scared. I can see that in your face. Tell me a bit more about how that feels. What are you feeling right now? This lets our children know, first, that we're listening to them, and second, that we take their feelings seriously. After the child has calmed down, which may be later, like a few hours later, we can continue the conversation. But if the child is really kind of worked up, our role is to be empathic, to be present, to acknowledge what they're feeling, to help them work through those fears, but not shut down their emotional response, allow them to go through what they're feeling, and encouraging them to come to peace in a natural way without us shutting them down. Another piece is to not be afraid of discussing the virus, right? Most children certainly have encountered people in masks, have heard about it. They all know they're being learning at school, and I imagine all of them know why. And so uh, when we do that, not when we don't talk about coronavirus, it actually can make their anxiety worse. We want to reaffirm to our children that they can come to us when they have questions. They can come to us when they have feelings around the virus. They can come to us really with anything around this, and we will be receptive and work with them. So it's important to make time to talk. And when we talk, we want to, again, keep a calm and centered emotional tone. We want to acknowledge what our children are saying, and offer reassurances to the best we can. We always want to be truthful and honest. And we want to be truthful and honest in a way that is reassuring, that is calming for them. Many children, which is totally developmentally appropriate, are all about themselves. And so one of their big fears may be that they are going to catch coronavirus. And so, an honest and truthful response to that might be something like, well, let's look at some statistics. How many people have it? This is a very small fraction of people. The folks who get very ill from this, not always, but tend to be in certain categories. And so most people who get this have flu-like or cold-like symptoms. And the whole reason we're practicing social distancing is so we don't have to deal with this at all, and we greatly reduce our chances of contracting the virus. If a young child asks, well, what is coronavirus, right? Most of us are not experts in virology or biology or chemistry. So how do we answer a question like this? One child development expert says a good general answer for any child would run something like this. COVID-19 is the short name for coronavirus disease 2019. It is a new virus. Doctors and scientists are still learning about it. Recently, this virus has made a lot of people sick. Scientists and doctors think that most people will be okay, especially kids, but some people might get pretty sick. Doctors and health experts are working hard to help people stay healthy. So there we have a truthful, factual statement. We have a little bit of explanation for a child that even a very young child could understand and wrap their heads around. And it's something positive, right? We're talking about working on understanding the virus, working on helping people stay healthy. So in addition to conversations, what can we do to help our children during this time? In a separate video, I talk about supporting and helping our children in their learning environment, the virtual learning environment, the distance learning environment. So here I'll limit myself to a couple of general points that I think may be helpful. One is, in general, to stick to a routine. Routine is comforting for all humans, especially children. And so as we continue to inhabit these social distance days, to have regular meal times, regular bedtimes, any other scheduled event that happens in your family, maintaining a routine and a set time for those things will help a child feel stable, feel like things are not kind of crumbling around them and becoming unmoored. Some of that may be difficult to do, but as much as possible, it's great to have a comforting level of routine in our day. Another thing that we can do is to emphasize what we can do. And this is helpful for adults as well, right? And usually if we're faced with a problem, there's at least a part of us that will say, well, what can I do about this? I want something to do, right? We come from a fix-it culture. And so with children, one thing we can do is emphasize good hygiene, right? And that's good for them physically as well as psychologically, right? So to say, well, what we can do to minimize any possibility of COVID-19 is washing our hands, every time we go outside, every time we cough or sneeze, every time we're about to eat, every time we use the bathroom, and talking with them about how to wash our hands, to wash our hands for 20 seconds. There's a famous Woody Allen movie where his character sings happy birthday twice every time he washes his hands. It can be something like that. Households with multiple children can make a game or a contest out of it, who remembers first when it is a time for family members to wash their hands. Um, so that's something that we can emphasize to help our kids feel like there is something they can do for their health and the health of their family. Another thing we can do is remind children to keep things in perspective, right? So if a child feels the sniffles coming on, or coughs or sneezes a few times, they may be afraid that this is coronavirus, and they may voice that fear to you. To reassure them, maybe even before something like that is to happen, is, hey, people are still getting regular colds, regular things, and if one of us in the house gets the sniffles, if one of us has a cough, it doesn't mean that there's coronavirus in the home, right? It could be many, many other things, just as in any other normal uh, springtime. Could be allergies as well. So to help them keep things in perspective. I hope some of this has been helpful. A lot of it I know is common sense, and I know our families out there, from knowing your kids, I know that you are great parents. And so I'm sure you're doing many of these things as it is. I just thought it would be nice to engage with you and offer some of what I've been reading and studying in hopes that it may be of service to you. So again, in summary, what we've talked about is managing our own anxiety before engaging our children in talk about coronavirus, taking their fears seriously and honoring what they feel, assessing what our children know and beginning our conversation from their point of knowledge, talking at an age appropriate level, and then sticking to routine and emphasizing good hygiene as things we can positively do in our homes and teach our children, both to minimize the chances of any of us contracting the virus, and also to set a good and healthy and happy routine at home. I wish you all a great day. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email is jreho, J-R-E-H-O, at stjohnseagles.org, if I can offer you any pastoral care or any help. Until then, God bless, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.